Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Who wants to live all good?
I do.
Lee Grigsby does, and that's the name of his company, LiveAllGood.com. Our friend, our coach. Happy belated Thanksgiving. How was it?
Yes. You too, Jill. Thanksgiving was good. I actually did have to work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, so did I.
But that's okay. But I will be thankful for having employment.
Exactly. That's what I say. I had to work as well. All right, Lee. So please introduce yourself to our listeners today.
Absolutely. I am Lee Grigsby, health and life coach and founder of LiveAllGood Coaching. You can find me at LiveAllGood.com on social media. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram at LiveAllGood Coaching, or my name, Lee Grigsby. You can also find me through email. You can connect to me at email, liveallgood, the number 44 at gmail.com. And if that doesn't suit you, you can also text or call at 202-455-6104.
Beautiful. All right. So what are we starting off with today?
Well, you know how we start.
But not all of our listeners do. Tell us.
That's true. So we like to start with what is working well. Because once we start with what's working well, that starts to get the brain into positive thinking. It starts to train your brain to look for what is good, because we're conditioned to look the other way. So we don't want to do that. We want to look for what's positive.
So you want to know what my positive story is?
I do.
So I've been working 2 jobs like yourself. I'm working a lot. I'm getting up at 1:30 in the morning, working in Manhattan, New York City till 7:30 in the morning, then coming to work this job until 4 p.m. So 9 to 4. Sure. It's double time for now, but you take it while you can, because I'm filling in at the other job, right? Fine. Gotcha. And I have my kids and all. So Saturday, now again, doing those double shifts full time. I have my kids, they get up at 7. I could not get out of bed. I just couldn't. And I'm a single mom. I live alone with that. It's like, and my 6-year-old actually got up and he comes back and his mom, I brushed my teeth. I got dressed. Do you need any help? You lay there. I didn't get out of bed till 1 p.m. No, my little one who's 4 kept coming in crying and screaming, but he says, I'll make him breakfast. Sure. Mess everywhere in the kitchen, which is so cute. They didn't use the stove or anything, but like cereal. But I was so grateful and thankful that I was able to actually sleep on and off those extra 6 hours.
Sure, because your body needed it. Absolutely.
And then my son stepped up, like at 6 years old. I was, wow, it was amazing. Like he was like a real man, and he's only 6. It was so beautiful.
Well, they must have some good modeling at home. That's why he stepped up.
I try, but no, not every day. He gets a little, but this was amazing. Sure. I guess I am doing something right. Now, what about you?
That's awesome. Well, what has worked well for me this week? I got to search a little bit, I think. But I will say this. What's worked well over the last 7 days, I did not overeat too much for Thanksgiving.
That's good, because that is a concern for all of us.
Absolutely. I did enjoy and I did indulge, and I do not feel bad about it.
How does your stomach feel? Did it take a day to get? Yeah,
it's better now.
Yeah, I understand. And then I do it one day, and then the next day it's like, well, I already did it yesterday. So then you just keep going, and my stomach hurt all weekend, but it's okay.
Right. No, but you know what? You get back on track, and I know we were talking about that before, right? With holiday eating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, folks, don't beat yourself up if you enjoyed the holiday. It's okay.
Exactly. It's okay.
You get time to get back on track. Absolutely.
Exactly. All right.
So actually, I wanted to take a little bit of a turn.
Sure.
We've talked a lot about, the physical things, right? How to get a better diet, just how to balance things physically. Mm-hmm. I want to turn and take a talk about mindset and actually about communication. Yeah. So I want to intro this, with a bit of a story. I'll share personally. Back, I guess I was, 16, 17, something like that. And at the time, my dad was actually working down here in Virginia. I was back in Ohio.
Okay.
And so you've heard of the basketball player Allen Iverson?
Yes,
right?
I have.
Okay, so controversial figure. The point is not about him, but his reputation or what people perceive from him
Perceive,
was
yes.
not, yeah, was not the best.
Yep.
So at the time, I had 2 earrings and a goatee, all of that. And my dad, and I don't have any tattoos, but my dad always railed against Allen Iverson. Oh, he's this, he's that, in all types of negatives, right? So I posed this question to my dad, and I said, "Well, what makes him any different than me?" And of course, my dad said, "Well, you're my son, and this." I'm like, "Mm-mm." But see, that doesn't count. It's the same across the board, right?
Yeah.
When I step out of this house, what makes me any different from the way you're talking about him?
Mm-hmm.
I've got a goatee. I'm a black man. I got 2 earrings. What makes I wear, similar
Yep.
fashion. So what makes me any different?
Mm-hmm.
And he never had an answer for that.
Ah,
But he didn't speak about Allen Iverson anymore that
okay.
way. But he never
Okay.
had an answer for that. So I share that story because obviously it's important not to judge, right? A,
Yep.
a a person by what you see,
Mm-hmm. And
but
we've all
also,
done
yeah,
it, but
we
it's
do,
and
and it's
as you get
natural.
older, you realize, wow, that's horrible. But we've all done it. We
Yeah, we
have.
have, we have. And so here's the thing, right? When we look at a person as a whole person, okay, actually, and I took notes on this because it was like a meme that I saw that, man, hit home this point. Okay. So people can only love to the level of their self love. They can only communicate to the level of their self awareness. And they can only behave to the level of their own healed trauma.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah. So let's pick that apart a little bit, right?
sure.
In this instance, I'm talking about my dad. So yes, he loved me, right? And son. But he could only see that so far, right?
Yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't about other people or, other black men or anything. It was about, oh, of course, my family is perfect and my family is good. But what was his self love like, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And then if you talk about his communication, my father was not the greatest communicator, but then he also wasn't very self aware, you
Okay.
know? And,
Mm-hmm.
and, and this is not, I want our listeners to understand that I'm not telling you this with judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are just some factual things that if we take a look at them and apply them to ourselves, we're like, oh, okay. So then also, I'm sure my dad was older and he was one of 8 children. I think he was like right in the middle,
Wow.
like five, like number 5. So I can only imagine the type of trauma that he may have buried that he did not address
Oh,
and
yeah.
it did not heal. So when he sees someone who didn't act the way he thinks they should act or didn't, conform to certain standards that were in his mind, then he's going to speak about them in a certain way. He
Mm-hmm.
was going to think about them in a certain way, right? And I tried to challenge that with him. So that's really, I want to encourage people to look at a whole
The
person,
whole.
the whole
Mm-hmm.
person, right? Maybe in that instance of what you're seeing, of the way they're communicating or the way they're behaving, it is derived from something else, right? Maybe that's not the whole person that they are. Maybe that is some unhealed trauma that they haven't addressed.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not very self aware because no one has told them, hey,
Mm-hmm.
if you smiled more, right, you would be this. Or, if you stop saying this and you said this, they're not self aware, right?
True.
And the biggest one is that self love. So many times people project what they feel either about themselves or how
Or
they would act
yeah.
in a certain situation. but they project that onto you, and then it triggers you, and you're off and running on a negative spiral.
Always. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Man. So
Ooh.
that was something that really resonated with me, and it all goes back to mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you make a choice to see someone as a whole person or individually, look at yourself as a whole person. Like, Jill, you're not just a host. You're not just a mom. You're the whole person,
Yeah.
And what are you aware of? How much self-love do you have? Some of the trauma that we, and by trauma, I don't mean like it doesn't have to be drastic, but
Yeah.
in all of our stories, there is something somewhere in our past that happened. Somebody said something, made us feel a certain way that does affect our actions and choices now.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
we don't address that, if we don't
Hmm.
dig in and heal that, we're not going to be able to go further. We get stuck,
Stuck. Yeah.
and you don't want to be stuck. We're coming up on a new year, folks. We got a few weeks. So start now.
Yeah, well, that's it. Then comes this whole thing, here the holidays are here, right? Thanksgiving comes and now it's
Absolutely.
December. Now it's Hanukkah is early, and then there's Kwanzaa, there's Christmas, there's so much New Year's. It's like, and people make those New Year's resolutions, but chances are they're not gonna last.
That's right.
I mean, I'm no expert, but I mean, it's like statistics. It's always on the news what happens after New Year's. And that's why gym memberships sell things like so cheap, because they know that those people are not going to be occupying their gym. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, now is the time. People make excuses to change their mind, to change in general, whether it's mindset, whether it's, but yeah, today.
You make a good point too, right? The excuses, right? The stories that we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. But you have time to scroll through social media and see your favorite, celebrity or whatever. See your favorite fashions. Now, I'm not saying that scrolling through social media is bad.
But when you're saying that you haven't fixed your car since 1996 because you don't have time and you're on there scrolling every day, does that sound personal? Yeah, it does. My son's father, he keeps saying how, I don't have time. I don't have time. His car's been in pieces since 1996. I said, I graduated high school in 1996. I said, wait a second. I said, you haven't had the time. I said, you gave up your job 6 years ago. You had a year off. You didn't make the time then. And you're working 1-2 days a week now, and you're still not making the time. That means there's something wrong in here.
There's a disconnect. It's
there's
the
something.
Choice.
Stop making excuses. Why I can't even do the math. 2006. That's a long time.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
2030. You haven't done it. It's like, and I keep trying to say, I said, stop blaming it and stop saying that, because it's you not making the time. And it's not that you're super busy. I know your schedule, but so anyway, so it's,
you gotta make a choice, right? And that's the thing.
Conscious decision. Yes,
that's
it. Yeah, that's it.
You got to prioritize, right? You know what? I want to say this. Thank you last week to our callers, Kate and Sabrina, right?
Oh, good memory.
Because I think one of them brought that up about how to. That was one of the questions: how to balance the work-life balance and how to stay focused. And so, I remember talking, giving her a tip on how to list things. But folks, listeners, you could do that for yourself, right? If you are struggling with what we're talking about, right? How to find time to do things you need to do. You're not always going to be motivated. Motivation comes and goes, right? You're not always going to be inspired.
Yeah.
But you want to set yourself up for success to retrain your brain how to choose and make decisions, right?
Okay.
So, like, I encourage everybody to try this exercise. Do a brain dump,
All right, brain dump it. Let's do it. How does that go?
So, write everything down. Write everything down of what you think you need to do. what you think you need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Just get it all out, and then don't put it in any order, right?
Okay.
But then when you go back through and you start looking at your list, right? And only take about 5 minutes. You don't want to take more than 5 minutes to write this down, because these are the things that are going to pour out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going through that list, start feeling what each thing does when you look at it, right? If you, so say, for instance, maybe I'll write down um, more gym time. I need to go to bed at a certain time. I want to register for some races again. I want to read maybe a book a month, right? Start putting things down. The one thing, as I was saying that list, I felt differently about reading one book a month. Like that evoked a different feeling, a positive feeling. So that would become a priority.
Yeah.
So when you're going through that list, read the things that you have down, see what kind of emotion comes from it. What does it make you feel? Do you feel um, like it's weighing you down? Do you feel heavy when you look at something on the list, right? Or do you feel energized? Do you feel happy? Do you feel, or even do you see like a vision from something on that list? The things that give you those kind of feelings, those become priorities. The other things can either be done later or become negotiable, that maybe they're not serving you right now. So maybe you don't need to do those, you know? So that is how you actually do like a brain dump, just get everything out. Because the
Mm-hmm.
worst place to be when you're trying to be focused and when you're trying to make a choice
Yeah.
is in
Mm-hmm.
your head.
Yeah.
In your head. That is the worst place to be.
Interesting.
Mm, sorry.
Mindset. It's okay. I need mine too. Do you mind? All right, go.
Yeah, I had to take a quick drink, folks. But my mindset is tied to everything. It really is. Um, since we're talking about mindset, I'd like to bring up, have you ever, well, and you talked about your son's father, right?
Mm-hmm.
You ever had a moment where you had to have a challenging conversation? I say challenging, other people call them difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Had plenty of those, sure. So let me give you some insight on how to deal with challenging conversations.
Okay.
Okay. Most of the time, when there is between two people, typically, the person bringing up an issue or a topic, the other person feels like they're going to lose, right? It becomes this right or wrong, or you win, I lose. In the better way to bring up a challenging conversation is being able to address how that person will also benefit from you getting what you're asking for.
Okay.
That's the way to address that.
Okay.
Because once they can see, I won't go so far as to call it a win-win, right? But once they realize they're not losing or they have to give up something, then that defense wall starts to come down, and then they can start to hear what you're asking for. Because most of the time, we need help to do stuff anyway, right? We can't do
Yeah.
everything alone. And that's the hardest thing to do, is to ask. This happens a lot. I'll probably speak more to maybe wives, but I think this speaks to husbands too, or anybody in a relationship. If you need something, especially when it comes to self-care, your mental health, or if something isn't clicking quite right,
Mm-hmm.
how many people decide, oh, this is just something I have to deal with. This is just part of who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not entirely true.
Yeah.
You know, it is okay. It's actually beneficial. It's actually healthier if you go ahead,
Um,
do not address it when you're angry or hurt, because you may not think through the actual language that you want to use.
True.
Okay. Now that's also challenging, but I encourage you guys not to address these things in the heat of the moment, right? Give yourself some time to process, to separate the situation from the emotion. You're allowed to have the emotion, but you don't want to address the situation or speak from emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Because what is going to happen then is it's just going to be, I'm saying this, and the other person is just going to wait until you're done. They're not going to really listen. And then they'll just say what they have to say.
True.
So everybody's talking, but nobody's listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and try to remove the emotion from the situation, but then also make I statements, right? So we'll do a little role play here, Jill.
Sure.
So Jill, when you told me that you were canceling my show, I felt disappointed because I wouldn't be able to speak to our callers anymore or our listeners, and then we wouldn't share Tuesday anymore. So that made me feel sad about that. Also, if we continue Tuesday, we get to continue our working relationship together. And that makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
So see, just in those sentences right there,
Yeah.
I was able to try to convey to you, you are going to win by we get to continue our podcast every Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
But then also you were able to realize
That.
what was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, and please tell me if I'm wrong, did you feel like threatened or judged by my I statement?
No, I really thought, is your podcast canceled? You really confused me. Was this a fake scenario? I'm like,
Yes,
again, I'm just the host, so I don't know if someone spoke to you and says
no,
you're not welcome anymore. I'm like,
no.
Wait, so you scared me a little. Okay.
I'm sorry. That was
hypothetical. Okay,
yes,
good.
that was just an example that just came off the top of my
I got
head.
upset for you, and I'm like,
no. We're, as far as I know, we're not canceled.
Okay,
so
okay. All right, good.
But yeah, I just wanted to convey that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt it.
That's the way you do that.
I believed you. I thought you were really hurt. I'm like,
no. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I should have found a better example. But
no, it's fine.
But you know what? It worked.
Clearly, it did.
It did work.
You were able to convey your feelings, your emotions very clearly. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's always best to make an I statement.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to. You want to try not to accuse the other person of something. True. Because that raises the defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know how it feels to be accused and then feel defensive.
Yeah.
And you're just chomping at the bit, waiting to say, but no, I didn't, or no, that's not. Relax.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You have to be willing to. So I guess this is the other important part of challenging conversations. If you are bringing an issue to the table, you also have to be open to hearing the other side.
Yeah.
Have to be open to hearing the other side, because there might be something in their response that you were unaware of also. So that is challenging conversations. That's how that works. Yeah.
You're good, Lee.
And I totally apologize for.
Don't, but you scared me.
No. Well, you'll have me next Tuesday. Don't worry. Right. You'll have me next Tuesday.
Well, and we're almost out of time. We got 2.5 minutes left. Tell me the.
Wow.
Tell me what. So we'll wrap it up.
Sure. Go ahead.
But
yeah.
No. So the advice for this process of focusing the self love.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we?
I think with a brain dump, you just go ahead and get everything out. You start prioritizing what is non-negotiable, what feels right, what makes you excited.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that move to the top of the list. That's how you start training your brain for what's important and what's positive. You start reconnecting your brain to your emotions, to your feelings, you know? And then with the challenging conversations, really, you start with I statements. You have to bring the issue to the table. Only that issue, though. Don't bring up things from the past. Help the other person see where they're going to benefit from helping you get what you need, and also be open to hearing what they have to say as well.
Got it. Good,
That's,
thank you.
yeah, appreciative communication. That's it.
And the process of working with you, explain how that works.
Well, if you want to work with me, it becomes a discovery session, and we find out what your goals are. We start doing some deeper dives into how we can achieve that, and we go from there. It's typically a 3-month program,
Okay.
but that by no means does it stop at 3 months.
Got it. All right. And how can our listeners reach out to you to book this discovery call, to get started? Any questions in general? Where do we go?
Absolutely. So you can go to liveallgood.com. There is an about page. It also has a contact form. You can find me on social media, LiveAllGood Coaching on Facebook, on Instagram, or my name, Lee Grigsby. You can reach me by email at liveallgood, the number 44 at gmail.com, or you can call or text at 202-455-6104.
Ethics and what?
Emotions. Ethics and emotions.
Very cool. I'm liking it, Lee. Lee, thank you for being here again, for enlightening our listeners, and for the conversation. And to all listeners out there, remember, try to think, right? Like we start off the conversation, think the positive, the good. You always got to think for the good and the positive, and it makes you become more grateful. And yeah, got to think about the more. I only think about when I come to you, though. I need to think about every day.
Well, you're starting off with once a week, so that's
I am.
Good.
All right, baby steps. Lee Grigsby, thank you for your time. Have a great day. And to all of our listeners, the same. Stay tuned. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.